Welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report, the only show that provides you with the best insight and information to everything Franklin County sports. And now here's your host, Bobby C.
Hello and welcome to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. Want to welcome you here today. Just want to say that we had another fun week of sports. We're going to share that with you. And the exciting news is that the regular season is winding down, which means that postseason play is about to begin. And this is what the kids have been working hard for all spring long. Want to say a big thank you to our underwriters here today, the Four Leaf Clover Restaurant in Berniston, also by Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue Way in Turners Falls, and by our friend Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Also want to say a big thank you to John Meisner and Philippe Simone, our two producers. Also want to say a big hello to Chris Collins and also to Deidre and Dean over at MCTV and the FCAT in South Deerfield. Well, as we get started with our show here today, I just want to let you know that the Franklin County Tech baseball team has really started to turn things around. Here's a team that has really started to make things happen at the right time of the year. And I just want to say a big congratulations goes out to them on the hard work that they've been able to put in. This Tech team ended up picking up a big win over Turners Falls, 9-6. That was a game that was played over on Tuesday night at the complex of Bordeaux Field in Turners. You know, the win ended up being the 10th win for the Eagles, which punched their ticket into the postseason. You know, they ended up struggling at the beginning of the year, and all of a sudden now they're starting to put on the Jets, and they end up picking up that nice win. You know, really, it was a win that was really a double victory, of course, is the fact that you got the two teams that are in the same town with the Tech taking on Turners Falls, and the Tech ends up winning that battle. They win 9-6. Ryan Campbell ended up with 4 hits for Turners Falls. He was the big guy that was hitting well that night, even though they got beat. Also, Robeson ends up with a couple of hits and 2 RBIs. Dom Carmi ends up with 2 hits. John Patala picks up a hit. Also, Jake Dodge, he ended up striking out 4 and walked 4 in a no decision. A couple of guys that hit the ball well for the Tech school include Sim Manietti, also Nate Sciandra, and yes, even Cole ended up having a couple hits too. Those guys have been really hot over the past couple of weeks. So congratulations to the Tech on making tournament play. Well, Mohawk, wow, what a team that has really started to turn things around, man. Whoo! They have surprised everybody in baseball. Well, after starting off this season 0-6, that's right, 0-6, they punched their ticket this week to postseason play. Who would have thought? Everybody thought they were completely out. They are not. Mohawk picks up a big win over Athol, 5-3, and they are now in. People are saying, how? How are they in? They were 0-6. Well, guess what, folks? If you end up placing first or second in your division, you automatically make postseason play. Mohawk has done that. As of last Tuesday, they were 6-2 in their division, sitting in second place, and they have punched their ticket. Yes, Mohawk, Pioneer, Greenfield, Turners, Franklin County Tech, and Frontier, all 6 of our Franklin County teams in baseball are going to postseason play. Yeah, baby, 6 for 6. Yeah, it is a really nice thing that these kids have been able to do over the last couple of weeks to find ways to win, to be able to get in to the postseason. So congratulations goes out to Mohawk on the wonderful job that they were able to do. You know, when you start off 0-6 and you're able to turn your season around and be able to be in a position that they're in right now, that says a lot about what they were able to do. And here's the sad part about this whole thing. During that 0-6 run, they ended up having a lot of their home games that were considered null and void, which means that they had to play on the road. Because of the moisture and the wet weather that we had down in what we like to call the tundra of Mohawk's baseball field. It was so wet, so damp, they weren't able to play on their field until the 8th game of the regular season. Now that ended up really affecting their team because they started off 0-6. Well, all of a sudden, they get back on their field. They started getting their mojo together, and now this Mohawk team is going to postseason play. So congratulations goes out to Bill Buck and his boys for a wonderful job done and a big win over Athol, which definitely was sweet because it clinched them a playoff berth. Frontier continued their winning ways last Tuesday. They knocked off South Hadley. Easy win for them, 17-6. I mean, this team is just nasty. They have lots of weapons. They have guys who can hit. They have good pitching. They just are a very solid program right now. And they end up winning against South Hadley back on Tuesday in a very easy victory. Well, the Greenfield softball team, they took on South Hadley in girls softball, picked up an easy win, 8-0. You know what was cool, though, is normally Olivia Joy has been the one that's been doing a lot of the pitching. Well, Coach Ryan Lovett decided that why don't we give Gianna Conti a chance? She's going to be our pitcher for the next couple of years. We got to get her ready for some of these games for next year. And she ended up firing a 2-hit shutout in that win over South Hadley. So with that win, Conti ended up pitching 7 innings. She finished with 14 strikeouts, 2 walks to earn the victory. Also, Audrey Brusciano ends up with a couple of hits. She has 3 RBIs to lead the wave. You know, they ended up scoring 3 times in the first inning, twice in the second inning, and jumped out to a very quick 5-0 lead. So a nice job for Greenfield, but a better job done by Gianna Conti, who ended up with that 2-hit shutout with 14 strikeouts. Great job, hon. You did an excellent job to help your team. Well, on Tuesday, it was Caitlin Johnson and Isis Moon. They ended up homering, and the Mohawk girls pick up a 7-6 victory over Athol. And the nice thing is they are now going to postseason play. So congratulations goes out to the Lady Warriors, who are now punching a ticket in, which I think is really good because this team has worked hard under their coach, Caitlin Gaffigan. You know, she says the one thing about this team is that we don't give up, we keep persevering, and the nice thing is even when we're having bad innings or we have a situation where we make a bad play, we come back and we make it even better by making a play or two. Well, that's what makes a team better. And that's a great way to have an attitude in any kind of a game, is that you can't let an error let you down. You got to come back and you got to continue to make the plays. So a nice job by the Lady Warriors. You know, they have been in a little bit of a slump the last few games, and they were able to do well because, you know, they had a nice opportunity to be able to hit the ball well and have people that were able to perform for them. So congratulations to the Lady Warriors. Johnston ends up 2 for 4 with 4 RBIs. Also, Ashley Reynolds ends up with 2 hits and an RBI. Lona Bloomer, she ended up being the winner in the circle for Mohawk. In this one, she gave up 3 earned runs. She struck out 6 in 7 innings. Well, the Greenfield tennis team. Wow, I got to tell you, this boys team is really, really good. And they ended up picking up a 5-0 victory over Cy Tech. Nice win for them. You know, they have just been solid. But here's the thing. You know, not only are they able to knock off some good teams from down in the Springfield area, but they've also been able to beat their team that's really good that's just across the river in Turner's Falls. You know, Turner's Falls and Greenfield have been able to battle it out. And Greenfield, having the season that they've had, just is looking good going into postseason play. The Frontier girls took a tough one in tennis. They lost on Tuesday to Pope Francis. You know, Powerhouse Pope Francis is considered one of the best girls tennis teams in all of the area, and Frontier only lost 3-2. So they came this close to being able to knock off one of the top teams, not only from what we were told in Western Mass, but one of the best in all of the state. Well, the Greenfield girls continue their winning way. They knocked off Mohawk 5-0. They are on a tear right now, and they have not lost in league play. They have just been able to win match after match after match, and their coach, Jenna Silk, says that they've just been able to get things done. And these girls have worked very hard, and she's been able to be a part of the growth since they started the beginning of the season back in early March. You know, after the basketball season ends, that's when these kids all start to get training and get themselves ready for the upcoming season. And the girls' tennis team over at Greenfield is pretty special this year. Well, I can tell you that in an independent game that happened back on Wednesday, it was the Frontier Junior Kaylee Acoyne, who ended up coming through to help out with their big win over the Pioneer Valley Christian School. She ended up fighting hard, and she ends up picking up the win. Also, a couple of nice victories that helped out as well were Tori Speth winning 6-2, 6-love. Also in there, Mary Lawrence, she wins her match 6-3, 6-1. It was all about the singles on being able to pick up the victory over Pioneer Valley Christian School for this Frontier girls team, who also is ready for postseason play. You know, when you talk to their coach, Coach Fitzgerald says, you know, we've really worked hard as a group, and everybody seems to be on the same page of where we want to be. And this really solidified how good our team is, being able to pick up 3 big singles victories to knock off the Pioneer Valley Christian School. The Greenfield girls, well, they continued their winning ways on Wednesday. They took on Palmer, and they won 4-1. You know, like I was saying about Coach Jenna Silk, she says that she's been watching these kids grow over the last year, and she is amazed on the success that this team has had. Well, they're young, they're strong, they're successful, they have a good camaraderie between all of these guys, and look where they are right now. As of Wednesday, sitting at 9-1 on the year, the Greenfield girls tennis team is on a roll. Savas ends up knocking off Mohawk 4-1 back on Wednesday. You know, it was a stellar performance by Avery Dupree. She ended up having a very solid day. She ends up winning 6-love, 6-3, but that was the only victory of the day for Mohawk. Well, that boys team from Greenfield continued their winning ways back on Wednesday. They knocked off Westfield 3-2. And you know what it was? It was the doubles teams. And here's the thing. The doubles teams have a pair of 8th graders who are playing together, and they have been hot. Daniel Penichetti and also Petru have been able to get things done. They picked up the victory 6-1, 6-3 in first doubles. In second doubles, the team of Connor Pettigrew and Gabe LaRoche ended up winning 6-3, 6-3. This team is really on a roll right now, and I really wish nothing but the best to this Greenfield boys tennis team in the upcoming tournament. Well, the Turner's boys continue their winning ways as well. They win 5-love over Holyoke. And yes, Turner's Falls won every single match during the day. So their guys continued their winning ways as well. Congratulations goes out to Will Turn, also to Brian Poirier. Can't forget that we got the doubles team of Koshin and Gollin. That was a nice win for them, as well as Boyle and Wisniewski. They end up winning too. And of course, you can't forget about the guy at singles as well, with Brody Trott. So nice job, guys. Continue to keep doing what you're doing. Greenfield and Turner's boys tennis, A-OK. They're looking good so far. Well, that Pioneer girls softball team, people have been talking about how good they came on later in the year. And the sad thing is they're not going to get in to postseason play. That's the sad part about it. As well as they have played over the last 3 weeks, it's not going to be enough for them to get in. And I think it's really sad, because if you really think about how well this Pioneer team has really been able to play, it's really sad that they're not going into the tournament. They ended up taking on last year's Division III runner-up. in Mount Everett, and they end up beating them on the road 6-2. A really good team. But I'm going to tell you why. Because they have got a pitcher over at Pioneer who has been really hot lately, and that is Steph Scoville. Steph has been able to lock down. She's been able to do well in the circle. And the sad thing is the way that they have been playing this year, they're not going to be able to make it to postseason play. Mount Everett, by the way, they're 9-4. They're guaranteed a spot into the upcoming tournament. Of course, Pioneer knocking off a good team like that, they unfortunately will be wrapping up their season this week, and they're done. But they got a bright future. They have some really good players that are going to be all coming back to be able to play for them next season. Tina Rydell has done a really good job with this team. You know, I think the biggest problem with them earlier in the year, if you look back, is their offense was really lacking for them. As well as Scoville has had as a year of pitching for them, she has done everything that she possibly could to keep them in games, but the offense has not been able to produce enough runs and enough hits and base runners for them to be able to win those games that she has pitched. You know, I look back and I say, what game was big was that game where they end up losing to Turner's Falls 2-0. You know, that was a game where if they were able to get some offense going, they might have upset the Thunder that day in Turner's Falls. But it wasn't enough. You know, you looked at what Jade Tyler did to be able to pick up the shutout and to be able to really shut down the Pioneer team's offense. That was the difference between that game, was the offensive production that wasn't there for Pioneer, even though Scoville was still dealing well and did an awesome job in the circle for Pioneer. So this team does have a good future. They surely will be good next season. Frontier girls continue their winning ways. They knocked off Munson last week, a nice easy win for them. How about 17 hits in this one? 17 hits, 14 runs. It's a good day's work. So nice job right there by the ladies. They're all ready for postseason play. They, as of last week, when this game was played back on Wednesday, were 13-4, but they had to play a really good team from Greenfield later in the week. And we'll talk about that game in just a moment. Let's talk about some of the big hitting that happened in this one. Charlotte Doulette ends up getting a couple of home runs, a solo shot in the third, 3-run homer she had in the seventh. She also had a triple, drove in 6 runs. Wow, that is a day's work for Charlotte Doulette. Also, Olivia Dean ends up with 3 hits. Ariana Walker with 2 hits and an RBI. Chloe Cutting ends up with 2 hits and an RBI. Cece Green with a couple of hits. Mandy Fuller with 2 hits and 2 RBIs. Caroline Moreau ends up with 2 hits and an RBI. Big day for the Lady Redhawks in that win over Munson. Well, in boys baseball, it was a good game between Athol and Pioneer. That game was on Wednesday night out in Athol, where Athol picks up the victory 3-1. I will tell you this, Pioneer boys, they were told that there was a little bit of a discrepancy in something that ended up sort of keeping people on the edge all season long until this last week. Because of the Sullivan rule and the way that they're set up in their division, they qualified for postseason play on May 3rd. Nobody knew about it until this week. These kids thought they were winding down their year and not going to have a chance to make postseason play. But they automatically made it, just like Turner's, through the Sullivan rule back on May 3rd. So these kids are sitting here scrambling, and maybe that was a good thing. Maybe that was a way for them to go out and have to be gritty, get out there and fight for the opportunity to get there the old-fashioned way, which is to get your 10 wins. That's the best way to do it. But if you get in by the Sullivan rule, because it is the legit way, because you're playing teams that are all an upper division than you are, so if you're going in the Division 4 tournament, but you're playing mostly Division 3 teams, this is how you get rewarded for that. So Pioneer boys, you're in. which we knew that because I just told everybody every single baseball team that we carry here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report are all in postseason play. Well, Greenfield picked up an easy win over Turner's Falls, and it was a couple of cousins that were going at it, with Ryan Campbell over at Turner's Falls and Hunter Campbell at Greenfield High School. And Hunter has never had a home run at all in his high school career, even though he's been batting over 500 this year for Greenfield. That's right, Hunter Campbell is batting over 500 this year for Greenfield High School. Phenomenal year in his senior year as he gets ready for his trip to Colby Sawyer to play baseball for them up in New Hampshire next season. Well, his cousin, Ryan Campbell, was on the mound, and what did Hunter Campbell do? He launched a 2-run homer against his cousin in their 8-1 victory, and with the loss, Turner's Falls ends up really limping bad going into postseason play. The Green Wave, on the other hand, they are one of the hottest teams right now in all of Western Massachusetts. By the way, they got rewarded too. They are now in the top 15 baseball teams in all of Western Mass for any division. That means Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, and Division 4. So this Greenfield team is now considered one of the top teams in all of Western Massachusetts, and they are really hot right now. And Campbell, he ends up hitting that big 2-run dinger to help lead his team, and Ryan Campbell ended up suffering the loss, struck out 1, ended up walking 6, had a tough day. He's not normally a pitcher for this team. They, like I said, are limping into postseason play. But I will say this, that the Wave, they are on a tear right now, and if they can continue their winning ways, they could have a shot at a Western Mass championship. But here's the deal. The couple of teams that they're still going to have to face when they go into the playoffs are teams like Athol, teams like Frontier. Well, guess what? This Greenfield team, they already beat Frontier this year. And we're going to talk about their game they had against Athol in just a moment. Well, Mohawk, yeah, like I said, they have been hot. Since that 0-6 start, they've improved to 8-4 since that 0-6 start on the year. So really you say to them, wow, this team's really turned their whole season around. They're going in to postseason play hot as well. You know, you look at what they were able to do and pick up that win over a good East Hampton team that has 10 wins, and they're going into postseason play. They end up winning nicely, 6-1. They ended up playing some decent defense as well with no errors on the day. They are going into the postseason right now on a very high note, which is wonderful to be able to see. Well, in a game that was played that was pretty important for Greenfield, they went in and had to take on a Marhar team that really has struggled against all the good teams. And Greenfield picked up an easy win in this one. Of course, Greenfield with the win was a big help because they needed some offense, and they were able to get that as they picked up the win, 12-2. Raquel Provost, nice day for her. How about 3 hits, an RBI for the Wave? You know, they've been hitting the ball pretty hard because I've been at some games and watched the way they've been hitting. Problem is they've been hitting them right to the fielders. And right now what they need to do is they need to start regrouping right now with the loss of Sam Smith, one of their big power hitters and also one of their wonderful, outstanding shortstops. They are really missing her right now. They're going to need her if she's available in postseason play. Livia Joy had a great night, though. How about this? 14 strikeouts, gave up 5 hits. You know, she ended up only earning the 2 runs, and that really came on only over the 7 innings as well. So a nice, solid performance right there by Olivia Joy as well in that victory, where the Senators right now, they are sitting at 7-11. And this is the year that they have not made postseason play for the first time in over a decade. So too bad that they weren't able to get in this year. But the Wave, they will continue into postseason play. Well, the Red Hawks boys are in as champions of the West. That's right, the Hampshire League West. It was a game that was going to be decided between them and Hopkins Academy. It was all Frontier in this one. Final score was 10-1. Frontier, they look good, man. They're going into the tournament solid. They'll have 16, 17 wins going in. So them, Greenfield, two of the top teams that are probably looking at first-round games, maybe even first-round buys. I'm going to run over the whole situation about how the tournament works. We'll talk about that coming up in just a couple of minutes. You know, Coach Williams, we call him Coach Skinny. He said, you know, winning the Hampshire West was our first priority when we came and talked about our goals at the beginning of the season. Of course, our next thing is that we want to be able to win Western Mass. And then our goal, of course, is to get to the state championship, and we want to compete there as well. Well, you know what? You've already got your first one under your belt with the league title. Now what you got to do is you're going to have to go out and you're going to have to play some really good baseball against some really good baseball teams in this upcoming tournament. And if you can be able to escape and be able to walk away with a Western Mass championship, then Frontier will have an opportunity, if they can do all that, to play for a state championship. But like I said, they got teams like Athol and Greenfield and other teams that are in the area that they're going to have to contend with who have played very well. You know, Coach Skinny said the one thing that we've been preaching is consistency, staying disciplined, and really it showed for us today because of putting up 10 runs against the team that is right in the thick of things for us to be able to win the division and knocking off a really good Hopkins team says something about what these guys have been able to do. He's proud of their efforts. It's paid off, and now it's on to the next goal. Another guy that he's really pointed out as someone who's been a big contributor to this team is Corbin Blight. He said that he has moved into the cleanup spot in the order. He's finished with really a solid day that day, ended up with 3 hits, including a double and a couple RBIs. You know, when they were down a man on the roster, they needed to pick up somebody. They pick up Blight, and he has just been a guy who's been able to get it done. Kalen Evans ended up picking up the win on the mound. He struck out 4, walked 1 in 6 innings. Brian Bauman ended up with a couple of hits. Jacob Bryant with a hit, 2 RBIs. Dylan Poland ends up with a hit and an RBI. Matt Hildreth had 2 hits in the win for Frontier. Congratulations, guys, on winning the Hampshire West. Pioneer, they end up knocking off Smith Academy. Easy win for them, 20-5, a nice little tune-up for them. And hey, they got in the old-fashioned way, baby. It wasn't about that Sullivan rule when they were already in May. They got in the right way right here at the end of May with this victory. So a nice job for them. Congratulations goes out to the Pioneer boys on their win over Smith Academy. Franklin County Tech picked up a big win over Smith Vocational School. Sim Manietti ends up singling home the game-winning run in the bottom of the 7th with a nice walk-off in Turner's Falls on Thursday. Sean Talega reached base with 2 outs in the bottom of the 7th. He got on a single, stole second base, and then Manietti hit a single. And yes, Talega scores, and they picked up the victory. Coach Praysall says that he was very pleased with the way that the kids were buckling down and played some good baseball. It's good to see that we're not having letdowns. You know, we ended up having that win over Turner's Falls. That was a big one for us. We came back. We picked up the win over Smith Vocational. Garrett Cole earned the win in relief. Manietti ended up with 3 hits and an RBI. Talega ended up with 3 hits. Nate Scandra, how about 2 hits, 2 RBIs? Mike Patnode and Max Lay, they each had 2 hits and 1 RBI for the Tech School as they continue to win, win, win. Well, I'm going to tell you something. We're going to talk about something pretty special here for the next couple of minutes, and it's about the Turner's Falls Lady Thunder. You know, they ended up taking on the #1 Division I girls softball program in the state. And they had a game that they played last Thursday night. It was over at the complex in Turner's Falls. The name of the team is Wachusett High School. By the way, Wachusett High School, they have 2,100 students in their school. What do you think Turners Falls has? Yeah, you got it, 300. 2,100 students. Softball, 19-0 for Wachusett. Turners, undefeated, going in, Division III school, 300 kids in the school. Wachusett, 2,100 kids, 19-0, Division I. Final score of the game at the complex last week, Wachusett 1, Turners nothing. 1-0 was the final. Can you imagine what this team has been able to do this year and what they called a rebuilding year? A rebuilding year? You've got to be kidding me. How can you be a rebuilding year, go undefeated, and you take on the #1 team in the state with 2,100 kids in the school? Turners Falls has 300 in the whole school. They're a Division III team. You're playing a 19-0 Division I powerhouse, and you lose 1-0. This Turners program is totally legit. But you know what Coach Mullins said? I guess they're a pretty good team because they beat us the last few years. Because you know what Mullins thinks? He thinks he has a pretty good team too, as he should. They really are a good team. You know, for what these kids have been able to do and to battle and fight and what they got coming back next year is just amazing. This Turners Falls Girls Thunder team, to me, is one of the most special programs in all of our area. I'm serious. I like the Frontier Boys baseball team. I think they're excellent. I like what Greenfield's been able to do this year in baseball. I like what the tennis teams have done at Greenfield and Turners. I just think that this Turners Falls Ladies Thunder team is just a special team. They have the package. They have the players. They have the coaching. They have the confidence. They have everything that you need to win. They have the recipe for success. And when you go in and you know that you got a team that's going to drive into your driveway, ready to go onto your field with a 19-0 record, and they're playing you, the Division III team, who, yes, is undefeated going in at 15-0, and they only beat you by 1 run, and you had a chance to even win this game, that says a lot about Turners Falls girls softball. Wonderful group of kids. I can go up and down the whole team, top to bottom. They're amazing kids. They're good students. They're good community kids. They have good support from their families. They have the community support. Them, Greenfield, I love the rivalry. I think the rivalry is great. Brings out a ton of people. But when you really think about it at the end of the day, this Turners Falls team seems to be the team that is to beat in Western Mass this season. And I don't think that they're going to lose in the Western Mass Championship. Matter of fact, if they keep playing the way they're playing, Gary Mullins could have himself another 2 championships, a Western Mass Championship and another Division III championship. Of course, it's all about playing all the games first. You know the old saying, all it takes is 1 bad game and that's it? I don't consider this game against Wachusett as a bad game. It was a 1-0 game. It wasn't a bad game. It wasn't like it was a bad loss. It was a loss, yes. On paper, it's a loss. But You played a team 19-0 that can pick from 2,100 kids to be able to be on their team. You have a school of 300, and you have to pick your team. Come on. Turners Falls girls, they're pretty amazing. Pioneer girls continue that winning way. They end up knocking off a very good Mount Everett team. Now they knock off a really good Athol team. Steph Scoville throws another gem for them. She has just been on a tear right now in the circle. She walked 4, allowed 5 hits, all singles in that shutout. Their coach, Tina Riddell, says, if you look at her stats all season, we just haven't been able to field the ball behind her or get the bats out enough, unfortunately. You know, you look at their record, 5-11. They're not a 5-11 team. They're more like an 11-5 team right now. They flipped it. But the problem is that they weren't able to capitalize on certain days, and it ended up costing them an opportunity to go to postseason play. Athol, they're in. Mount Everett, they're in. This team only lost to Turners 2-0. They're going to postseason play. They've had their chances. Very unfortunate for this Pioneer girls team. Very proud of them. Very proud of what they've been able to do. And I'll tell you, Steph Scoville, what an awesome year you've had in the circle for your team up in Northfield. Well, they had their big track and field meet over the weekend, and of course, a lot of the folks are all getting excited. It's the Central Western Mass Division II Track and Field Championships, and they ended up holding it on Saturday. And what I decided that I want to do, because we have such a light menu with the teams winding down the year, I want to give them some love. So we're going to give them some love on the show next week. But I wanted to talk a little bit about where the seedings went for this going into the weekend, all right? Which we'll do that right now, okay? Megan Davis of Mohawk Trail Regional is the favorite to win the 2-mile event. Also, we could tell you that in pole vault, Teddy Pop from Greenfield and Jack Vasilio of Frontier are the 2 top overall seeds for pole vaulting. Big race that should be interesting is the 400-meter hurdles, where Fallon Koski of Frontier is considered one of the top ranks. Another kid who's been able to get it done all year long is Scott McDonough from Pioneer. He's been dominating the long jump. He is another top seed. In the 400-meter dash, Frontier's female team, which is Marcella Ackerman, she's the top seed in our area locally. Also, she's had a great year, Victoria Moran. She's also considered one of the top finishers of our area that hopefully will be able to do well in this. In the 100-meter hurdles, Jenna Martin in the 400-meter hurdles of Frontier. Also, Marin will also compete in the high jump. Also, you got to look for Ivy Shattuck. She is the top local thrower in the discus. She's ranked 14th in this big tournament coming up. Also in the javelin, Riley Eisler of Frontier. Also, Kinsmith from Greenfield. Crescens is the 3rd seed in this tournament for the 100-meter dash. Top local seeds in the 800 include Aiden Falla of Frontier, ranked 10th. Alex Sharp from Frontier is the local seed in the 1 mile. He's going to be ranked 16th going in. Dennis Simmons of Mohawk is ranked 19th in the mile. Also, fellow teammate from Mohawk, London Summers, 6th in the javelin. Also, there's Emmanuel from Greenfield that's right in there. The 100-meter hurdles, Teddy Pop from Greenfield 10th place, and the Frontier relay teams are ranked 5th in the 4x800 and ranked 6th in the 4x100. So these kids all had a chance to battle this past weekend over the holiday weekend. And I'm going to do a special thing on these kids as our show. It'll be a big focus of our show next week. Want to give some love to the track and field. Also, I'll be able to have all the pairings for you next week of where everything goes for the upcoming tournament, which is very important because they're going to finish out all the games this week. The tournament pairings will be done this weekend. It'll be done on June 1st and June 2nd. So I'll be able to have all that information for you for our show next week. I want to let you know there was 2 games that were played on Friday. Friday, there was a great game that happened between the Greenfield girls and the Frontier girls. It was a walk-off hit by Kelsey Richardson of Greenfield, and they picked up the 3-2 win. Big win for Greenfield over a very good Frontier team, a nice tune-up for both of them as they get ready for the upcoming tournament. And the freshman comes through with the big hit to give Greenfield the victory. Also on the other side of the field, it was our game of the week on GCTV, where the Greenfield boys knocked off Athol. Nice win for them. You know, this Greenfield team really played well. They end up with the 5-1 win. Not only did they also just win that game, but they won pretty handedly as far as I was concerned. A lot of small ball went on in this one. A lot of bunts, stolen bases, good pitching by Kyle Devlin. Devlin was really dealing well in this one. Tell you though, can't take nothing away from Athol. They looked really well too, and they just weren't able to get enough pop in their bats to be able to compete with Greenfield in this one. Big win for Greenfield too, because they are really going in to this upcoming tournament on a very high note, which I feel is going to help them in their seeding, which will either give them a bye or a definite home field first round advantage. So we'll find out when everything comes out later this week, when all the pairings are done, on where everything will lie for the upcoming tournament for softball and baseball. The tournament seedings will also be done for boys and girls tennis. And of course, we already know that they've already completed the Central Western Mass Track and Field Division II tournament. We'll talk about that and give them kids some love on our show next week. So there you have it. Another solid week of athletes, another solid week of qualifying, and now we're sitting pretty. Let's run it down. One quick run, and then we're done. Boys baseball, we cover 6 teams here on the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. All 6 are in. Frontier, Greenfield, Turners, Pioneer, Franklin County Tech, Mohawk, all in. Girls softball, our locals. Franklin County Tech girls, they are out. They will not be going for a postseason opportunity. Mohawk girls, in. Frontier girls, in. Turner's girls, in. Greenfield girls are in. The other sad team that's not, but playing so well right now, is the Pioneer girls. They will not be playing in the postseason. For tennis, boys and girls Greenfield are in, and we also have the girls tennis team at Frontier that's in, and the boys team at Turner's is in. And of course, our track and field, we've already talked about them. So there you have it. It's another wrap of the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. I'm Bobby C. On behalf of John Meisner and also Philippe Simone, want to say one more time a big thank you to our underwriters here today. Want to say thank you to Mark Snow, Linda Snow at the 4 Leaf Clover Restaurant. They're located in Berniston. Also by the folks over at Denny's Pantry, Berniston Road in Greenfield, Sean Hubert and the staff over at Hubie's Tavern and Restaurant, Avenue A in Turners Falls, and also by Lisa Albert of Albert Hearing Services, 33 Riddell Street in Greenfield. Get out, support your local athletes. Postseason's coming. Don't forget about the game of the week. You can check it out. Go to gctv.org. Sit back, relax, enjoy these great games. It's so nice to be able to have a group of underwriters that have stepped up to give us the opportunity to do this, and it's done because of the great professional work of Philippe Simone and John Meisner. And yes, we've been very fortunate to be able to have the broadcast team of myself and Jeff Terrell. So until we meet again next week, thank you so much for tuning in to the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report. Have a great week, everyone.
Thanks for watching the Franklin County Varsity Sports Report on GCTV. Catch a game and be sure to join us next time for more sports and fun.